YB stays on your neck.
And I said, look, we have a situation where we had to activate a rematch clause. So what are you thinking? 1,000,000%, like easy. Of course. Then I spoke to Rob McCracken. Rob McCracken is a very conservative, defensive guy. Like, he don't take many chances. He went, Ed, of course, he will beat him in the rematch. So then it was a no-brainer for me, you know.
Yo, my dons, make sure you hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and obviously hit the bell for notifications. So we just heard there from Robert McCracken via Eddie Cover-Up Hearn. Now, let us cut to it. So essentially, Eddie Cover-Up Hearn is talking about why they signed the rematch clause, or why they pushed the rematch clause. Now, just quickly on that note, they had to do this rematch. Otherwise, they'd go away, fight a random bum, and then be doing what? Just milling around the place on some Tyson Fury thing. AJ could start talking about how he's the lineal champion, and even though he's got no belts, he's fighting bums and Francesco Pianetta. That's what we're dealing with here. There's no way AJ shouldn't have signed the rematch. Having a warm-up fight, this is the problem. At high-level boxing, there's no real preparation for it. Bowling over a bum, what's that going to do? Bowling over two bums, what's that going to prove? Iron sharpens iron. You're going to have to take, and at this level, you're going to have to take some risk anyway to really gain something. If AJ goes in there and bowls a bum over, that's not going to help his confidence. If his confidence is struggling, he's going to have to go and prove it himself in the gladiator arena. Does that make sense? Bowling over a bum is not going to increase your confidence. It might do when you're first starting out your career, but after a defeat like the Ruiz fight, the only way to get that confidence back is by proving yourself. Going there and taking out the Don, taking out the man with the belts, in my opinion. Bowling over more bums, you're just lying to yourself. But anyway, on that note, Eddie Hearn says, he spoke to AJ and said, what are you thinking? We've got this situation with the belts. If you don't take this, we're obviously going to lose the belt, etc., etc. AJ says, I am 1,000,000% sure, of course. And now on that note, quickly, what do we know about AJ? Can we sit here and really say, oh, Eddie Hearn's probably lying? I don't think so, because look at how he's acting on social media. Something's not adding up here. For me, it feels like the fact Eddie Hearn's so confident, the fact AJ's so confident, the fact AJ's on social media, so active, happy as Larry, on the bike, smiling ear to ear, not stressed at all, no pressure. For me, it feels like we're the ones who are in the dark here. It feels to me like Joshua's whole team, they know exactly what went wrong. They know exactly what it is. You know what? That's what it is. Pinpointed it. But anyway, the next part. He then says, then I spoke to Rob McCracken. And he said, then I spoke to Rob McCracken. He's a very conservative man. He's not a risk taker. He's very defensive. And he came out and said, Ed, of course, AJ will beat him in the rematch. Bang. And at that point, Eddie Hearn said, yeah, so it's a no-brainer for me. We're signing the rematch clause. Now, bearing in mind, this is what implies to me there was something that was blatant that went on. That fight with Joshua was an absolute shocker. There's not one point you can take and really say, yeah, that was a good fundamental part of the fight. It was all shocking. Look at the corner. The corner was shambolic. In as much as AJ was sitting there, didn't know what to do, didn't know what to expect, didn't know what shot he got hit with, was confused why he was feeling like that. He wasn't listening to Rob McCracken, etc., etc. If I was Rob McCracken, if I was AJ, I'd be really worried at this point. I'd be thinking, you know what? I've got no control over him in the ring. He doesn't listen to me. AJ doesn't know what shots he was being hit with, etc., etc. Joshua comes out with a low lead hand. Joshua's half boxer, half fighter, half power puncher, half twinkle toes. Joshua's gas tank shocking, etc., etc. And for me, the fact there's been not much introspection, bearing in mind it's been less than a week. It's been less than a week and the rematch clause has been executed. It's been less than a week and already, within a few days, Joshua had come out and said, listen, I'm sticking with my team. They know how to get me there. Yeah, so that shows to me there's not been much introspection. There's not been much analysis and much evaluation of what's actually happened. Now, the reason that's relevant to this is what I'm about to say now. Normally, after a performance like that, bearing in mind Ruiz was like a 25-1 underdog. When you have a shocking performance like that, normally it can take a few weeks, a few months. Look at the Klitschko fight, for example. AJ versus Klitschko. Klitschko didn't come out in the first week and say, yeah, I want it. It took him weeks to figure it out. And to be honest with you, that Klitschko performance, that wasn't even diabolical. That was one of his best performances. But still, it takes time to break things down. See where you can find an edge, maybe. That performance from Joshua was absolutely shocking. It should have taken him ages to work out whether or not he needs to change his team, whether or not he needs to add something in, whether or not he even wants this rematch. But the fact he's come out so confident, so happy on social media, signing the rematch clause, everyone, McCracken, the fact no one's got any worries after that sort of performance, there's not one worry anywhere. Everyone's 100% sure. Even conservative people like Rob McCracken are 100% sure, after no introspection, after not much analysis or breaking down the events, they're confident. Now, what does that tell me? That tells me that they know something that we don't. Simple as that. Because I'm sitting here now thinking, oh, most people with a brain will be sitting there thinking, in fact, most people full stop are saying, there's no way Joshua can win that fight. Or they're saying, yeah, Joshua, it's going to happen the same again because Joshua's got glaring holes in his game. People that are saying that was the normal Joshua in there. My dad's one of them. He believes that was a normal Josh and Josh has just been exposed in that sense. And many people believe that. So on that basis, with a lot of people not believing that Josh was much better than that, how are his team so confident? I'll tell you how they're so confident. I'll tell you how they're happy to rush into the rematch. I'll tell you how Joshua's happy and smiling and so confident. I'll tell you how McCracken's so confident. I'll tell you how no one's been added to the team. I'll tell you how he's made no changes. I'll tell you how within 2 or 3 days he's come out and says, yeah, my team's the one. We're going to do it with this team. Confidently as well. Because they knew he shouldn't have been in there and they've now clocked, listen, as long as he's not concussed again, it'll be fine. Which makes sense to me as well, to be honest with you. Because most people would have said, well, put it this way, forget what most people would have said. The bookies were saying, on an average, what was it, 20 times, what was it, yeah, 19 times out of 20, AJ would beat Ruiz. That's what the bookie was saying before the fight. 19 out of 20 times, AJ will beat Ruiz. Fact. Yeah? So on that basis, in reality, that from Joshua's perspective, they're thinking, you know what, if I wasn't concussed going into the fight, it would be a 19 out of 20 job. 19 out of 20 times I'm going to beat Ruiz. That's why they're so confident, in my opinion. Because put it this way, if there wasn't a glaring hole, if there wasn't something obvious, why are they not doing no introspection? Why aren't they doing a load of soul searching and thinking, wow, what's going on here? If it was me after a performance like that and I was Joshua, I wouldn't be on social media. I'd be sitting there thinking, wow, what's going on here? Have I been found out? I need to really look and dive into what's going on here. But they haven't been doing that. They've been really confident with it. Overly confident, weirdly confident, even after the fight. Happy as Larry. It's as if they already knew this was going to be the result. Or they weren't shocked by the result, i.e., well, it's obvious what it was. He was concussed before the fight. Very, very odd. Very weird. Very weird. Now, it's a shame in a way we haven't seen a Joshua loss before, because then we could really compare. But for me, this is the, what do they call it? This is a smoking gun. Yeah? Everyone's bang confident. In reality, if you didn't know what the issue was, would you be that confident after that fight? It wasn't like as if you can say, well, he caught us with a lucky shot. He had your number in that fight. That's what he observed. If there was no concussion, he had your number. But they're not acting like that. They're acting like it's all... Now, I understand you've got to be confident. I understand you've got to be positive, but come on. They're all over this. Like it's all a big joke. Like they know something we don't. That's what I feel like. Eddie Hearn, bearing in mind this is his biggest charge, he don't seem to be that under pressure. He don't seem that stressed. He seems confident and ready to run forward. Now, maybe these guys are just really positive people who are like, they're always optimistic. But I find that hard to believe because Eddie Hearn said himself, Rob McCracken is very conservative. He's not a risk taker. He's very defensive. And he's jumped into this rematch. Now, I've been critical of McCracken, but one thing we can be sure of, he loves a pound note. Hence why he doesn't want Joshua to move on. He loves the pound note. So from his perspective, he's thinking, you know what? If he wasn't confident, if he didn't know something that was obvious, he'd be saying, being conservative, being not a risk taker, he'd be saying, you know what? I think it's better we go and get Joshua some warm-up fights. I think it's better we build Joshua back up. Yeah? He's only had 20 fights or whatever. Let's build him back up. So I can keep milking the cow. He hasn't said that. He's putting him straight back in. Is that a conservative move? I don't think so. A conservative move would be waiting and building up again. But they're that confident after that shocking performance. How can you be that confident without a glaring hole, without a glaring obvious bang? There it is, easy, concussed. That's what it was, obviously. I don't know, maybe it's just me being a conspiracy theorist, maybe not. I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think. Either way, McCracken's finally spoken. He's 100% confident after that. After Joshua not listening to anything he was saying. That's another thing. McCracken is 100% confident that Joshua will win after Joshua not listening to anything he was saying in the corner. What's that about? It's almost as if he knew the reason Joshua wasn't listening to him in the corner, aka he was concussed 8 days before, or not. How as a coach, how can only a few days after the fight can you be this confident you're going to win when you weren't listening to anything you were saying in the corner? Are you telling me you've really hashed it out and you've really become convinced in 3-4 days after the fight that your man's going to be back on it? I'm sorry, man, I just don't believe it. Not at this level in sport. I don't believe they've managed to break that kind of performance down and come to the conclusion they're 1,000,000% positive without there being a glaring hole, a glaring obvious fix. Which for me would be, you know what, as long as he's not, I reckon they're sitting there saying, as long as he's not concussed going into that ring, it's going to be the true 20-1 odds. Or 20-1 against Ruiz, which should be the case. But either way, one thing I do love, I will say this, conspiracy theories or not, we will know for sure. Come 6 months' time, we'll know. If Joshua goes in there, this is going to be the proof. That's one thing I do like about the situation. We will actually know how and what happened. In 6 months' time from now, if Joshua goes in there and murks Ruiz, we'll know he was concussed, no doubt. Now, if he goes in there and has a Klitschko performance and just gets through, we'll be able to say, you know what, that probably was 100% Joshua. He just got caught slipping. He just got caught a little bit unfocused. But if he goes in there and we see a 20-1 favourite performance, we'll know that this dude was concussed clearly. And that's what I'm edging towards. I reckon AJ's going to go in there and show us the class that he should have done. And if he doesn't, I'll put my hands up and say, listen, I've been completely barking at the wrong tree here. But I'll be very shocked if the Ruiz fight becomes really hard work in the next one. Because that will imply Joshua was 100% fine, and no one's been saying that outside of Joshua's camp. But I'll be intrigued to see what you guys think. Do you think, am I reading too much into this? I don't know.